What Ferrari didn't teach you following Austria is precisely what Hamilton cracked for Silverstone. On the cooldown lap in Spielberg, following a subdued but strategic P5, Lewis Hamilton uttered just 6 words over the radio. "Now we know what's underneath us." No anger, no jubilation, but a mysterious nod as if a code had been broken. On the face of it, it seemed innocuous. A veteran looking back on a weekend of data collection. But those on the inside heard something else altogether. Hamilton had just unveiled the SF25's real innovation. One Ferrari attempting to masquerade as merely another upgrade. This was not about points, but power. And that floor modification in Austria, that was a test. But not only for the car, for trust, for hierarchy, for the true direction Ferrari is soon to take beginning at Silverstone. And that altercation with Adami, that was not a dispute. It was the ignition of a power fire. Because what Ferrari was most afraid of, allowing Hamilton the complete freedom in Austria, could become uncontainable at Silverstone. They referred to it as a clash. But what transpired between Hamilton and Riccardo Adami in Austria was not an easy strategy disagreement. It was a battle for territory. Live on team radio, Hamilton advocated for a 1-stop, Adami wanted 2. At face value, it was merely a tires disagreement. But when Hamilton held firm, something else seeped through. Defiance. Here's the whole quote that didn't make the highlights of the broadcast. "If I remain outside, I can make this happen, trust me." But trust at Ferrari is businesslike. And that is where the problem lies. The moment Hamilton resisted, the tone changed. Adami's answers became colder, less suggestive, more commanding. Ferrari did not want suggestions, they wanted obedience. When they finally boxed him, it was not a compromise, it was a shutdown. But why does this concern me? Because at that moment, a truth was exposed that most of the fans overlooked. Hamilton isn't merely adjusting to Ferrari, he's changing it from inside out, pushing the limits, compelling the team to explain decisions they once made silently. And that tension, that's the indication of a change in influence. So, when Hamilton uttered, "Now we know what's under us," it was not relief. It was a claim, not a press release, a coded coup. And at Silverstone, he's going to make that control irrefutable. Let's remove the perismoke. The step forward for Austria, so-called, wasn't all about a new floor. It was about ownership. Ferrari's deputy team principal, Jerome D'Ambrosio, insisted the upgrade did what it was meant to do. A serene, antiseptic clean statement. Too serene. Engineers who have worked for him, who have a sense of how he feels the car, particularly in low fuel, low downforce pressure situations. And the giveaway, post-race telemetry, revealed Hamilton's corner entry stability to be considerably higher compared to Leclerc's. An indication the SF25 was bending at last towards Lewis's calls. But Ferrari couldn't do that in public. Why? Because doing so amounts to admitting that Hamilton's driving manner, and not that of the clerk, is now dictating the car's development. That's not technical revision, that's political explosion. But there's a price for progress. Silverstone may be the weekend when the clerk understands that the machine that danced once with him no longer shares his language. 6 words, breathed, dismissed, but ruinous in consequence. We know what's beneath us now. It was merely a post-race comment to the superficial fan. But within the paddock, that sentence raised an eyebrow or two. Because Lewis was not talking of a tire compound or of strategy. He was talking about something much more sinister. Control. Austria was a data pit. Ferrari believed they were running an upgrade test. Hamilton employed it to test them. With each lap on that new floor, he wasn't merely driving. He was collecting feel, balance, delta shifts, ride height behavior under fuel load. And by lap 47, the telemetry revealed something stunning. Hamilton discovered a fresh aero spot in Sector 2, one comparable to simulations during his Mercedes years, not Ferrari's records. So when he uttered, "We know," it wasn't an expression of discovery. It was a vocal sign on claimed territory. At that moment, Lewis Hamilton ceased being a visitor in Ferrari. He became the designer of its new era. Because this defect, it's not grip, it's about leadership. And for those who read between the peaks, it's obvious Ferrari is already voting 2026. If the SF25 now responds to Hamilton, what does it say to Leclerc? The response, as reported through telemetry leaks in Austria, is horrifying. It does not say anything, or it disputes. Leclerc's vehicle exhibited instability and braking in turn 3 and 6, places where Hamilton established flow. The ride height difference between the two was substantial with Leclerc's car, bottoming more often under DRS on scenarios engineers wrote it off as setup variation. But in-house grumblings indicate otherwise. The balance point of the car has moved, and not away from Charles. And for a driver who had constructed his Ferrari persona on accuracy, on being the one the car sways with, this is hostilities. Because in F1, when the car ceases to listen, the team generally follows suit. The subdued grins in Hamilton's garage corner after the race weren't for a P5, they were for vindication. In contrast, the clerk departed Austria without press brief. He's no longer looking to be told by the team. Ferrari claims they are trading 2025 performance with 2026 development. They're already selecting their future king size. And this new floor, it's a prototype, not only of aero philosophy, but of political alignment. Because here's what insiders disclosed. The SF25 evolution that we see now is flowing directly into Ferrari's 2026 simulation rig. The ride behavior, the load sensitivity, the traction curve feedback, it's all being coded forward. That's each lap Hamilton drives with these upgrades, carves its DNA into Ferrari's next generation of car. And that's the actual Austria revelation. It's not merely that Hamilton learned to drive around Ferrari, it's that Ferrari is learning how to drive around Hamilton.
So when D'Ambrosio claimed the upgrade was effective in its way, what he actually meant was the transition has started, not merely in setup, in loyalty. And when cameras come on at Silverstone, look at the eyes, not the smiles. Behind every scripted reply is the fracture. A group playing unity while conducting a quiet civil war. As cameras tracked Hamilton's cool-down lap, something was in motion. Off-screen, but not unobserved. Only hours after the Austrian GP, the clerk's private plane left for Bologna. Destination, not Monaco, not rest, but Maranello. No press, no team media day, but a behind-closed-doors meeting with Ferrari's top simulator team. The type of session that only takes place when a driver believes he's losing control. Why so urgently? Because Leclerc's side is aware of what the telemetry reveals. The SF25 is moving towards a different rhythm, and he's not the metronome anymore. Austria was the third successive weekend where Hamilton's balance data took precedence in overnight adjustments. For Charles, that is not only a red flag, it is a siren. Insiders say he asked for confirmation about long-term development direction code for "Am I still the centre of this team?" And here's the kicker. Ferrari did not say no. They said no too. They presented him with data, raw, technical, cold. And in F1 politics, silent cold speaks louder than a denial. Now comes the aftermath, because Silverstone is not merely a race, it's a psychological game of chess where every quote, every tweak of setup, every look across the garage will reveal who really owns Ferrari's future. Silverstone isn't only home ground for Hamilton, it's a battleground etched in heritage, and this season it's not about outrunning Verstappen, it's about dispelling the myth of Ferrari cohesion. The team will come grinning, but take a closer glance. Hamilton's engineers have been said to have asked for more floor stiffness tests. A hint but significant shift towards his Mercedes-style feedback loops. In the meantime, Leclerc's camp reportedly took issues up with Vasca directly, seeking more definitive explanations for why Austria's revisions weren't equilibrated between both cars. And that leads us to the actual threat.
Because when a team is employing two philosophies, it's not innovation, it's internal civil war. At Silverstone, telemetry won't display lap times, it'll display alignment, whom the SF25 hears, whom it resists. An all point of braking, all delta won or lost, will whisper a truth Ferrari cannot keep hidden. This is a two-driver team, in theory alone. In essence, it's turning into Hamilton's runabout. So the question now isn't can he win, it's harsher. Can Ferrari withstand the truth he's bringing out from within? If you think Formula One can do more than PR, if you want every coded radio, every ominous silence, every power change within the paddock unraveled, not overlooked, then remain here, for this war will not be televised.